Familiarize yourself with the STAR method. So when you have an interview, it can be very nerve-wracking and make you very anxious. But there are some things that have helped me prepare for an interview, and I'm hoping that in this video, I can share some of those things, and hopefully they can also be helpful for you. During the interview, it's very important to be professional so that you are the most preferred candidate. Most interviews take about 30 minutes, and those interviewers have about that amount of time to decide whether you are the right candidate for the job and also whether you'll be able to perform the duties and the roles that the role requires you to perform. So therefore, you want to showcase your strengths and your abilities, looking forward or looking desperate for the job. Hi everybody, my name is Nosisa and welcome to this video. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome, and for those that are returning, thank you very much for watching this video. So even if you're unemployed, remember that you are not desperate. You have skills and qualifications that any company will be lucky to have in their organization. Here are a few tips that I've used that can help you prepare for your big day. So the first one is to learn as much as you can about the company, the job, and the interview. When you prepare, you are likely to feel more at peace and less anxious about the interview that you have to go for. So the first one is to research the company that you are going for the interview for, what the company does, and the financials of the company if they are available. You want to know as much as possible about the company that you're going for the interview for, because ultimately you want to make sure that this company is the right fit for you and your career aspirations. Learn everything you can about the position, and if you can, try out the company's product or service. Learn about the interviewers who will be there during the interview process without being creepy. Learn about the interviewers by looking at their LinkedIn profile so you can see who exactly you'll be meeting on the day of your interview. Some interviews are just to get to know you a little bit better to make sure that you've got the right skills and experience for that role. And then there can be second rounds where you're likely maybe to meet different people in the organization, and also there could be assessments in the future. So the second one is to brush up on your interview skills. And interview questions. Identify your selling points for the job and be ready to tell the interviewer all about yourself. There are some questions that you can find out from the internet about frequently asked questions at an interview. Like, for example, tell us about yourself. This is mostly has to do with your professional career. So when you answer this type of question, remember to stick to your professional career. If they do ask anything personal, then you can answer that question accordingly. So it's also important to know why you want this position and in this company. I know that it's not easy, especially if you are not employed. You are likely to just go for any interview that can come your way, because at the end of the day, we have bills to pay, we have to look after our families, and we need to sometimes get a job. However, having said that, you also want to make sure that this role that you're applying for is in line with your career aspirations. Because if you're not happy at this job, you are likely to stay for a little bit of time and then start looking for another job. Also, it's important to do your salary research. This one can be a little bit tricky because when it comes to salary, it also depends on the kind of job that you have, the experience that you have, and the skills that you have, and for how long you've been working. Another thing to remember is to prepare your stories. Having some answers prepared can help relieve a lot of stress. There could be some questions that are difficult to answer. For example, if you have gaps in your CV, why you have gaps in your CV. So having prepared answers can alleviate stress when or should they ask in the interview. Or if you've moved around from company to company to company, then you know what to say should they also ask you that question. Familiarize yourself with the STAR method. The STAR method is situation, briefly laying out the scenario using as much detail as you possibly can so that the interviewer will understand the stakes and everything else in the answer. The second one is task. Talk about what your role in the situation was. The third one is action, where you discuss why and what you did in the situation. And then the last one is result, where you tell the interviewer the outcome of the situation and what you learned from that situation. So just to recap, jot down any important numbers and details that you want to mention in the interview. Brush up your interview skills. Practice your answers, but don't memorize them. You don't want to look like a robot. Also remember your body language. Making eye contact with the interviewers. Pausing between answers to think about the answer you want to give. And don't rush or panic. You can also try mock questions that you can find from the internet. So plan for what you'll do if you're caught off guard. I know for me, if they ask me a question I wasn't prepared for, I take like 2 seconds to think about it, and then I'm able to then answer the question accordingly once I've gathered my thoughts as to how I'm going to approach that question. Prepare for technical or skills tests. There are some situations where you will not be necessarily able to prepare for this. For example, an assessment. An assessment is just to see whether you'll be a fit for the company and that organization. So there's not much you can do in those scenarios. But if you know maybe you have an exam or that the question is more technical, then you can just brush up on your skills to make sure that you answer the question accordingly. Also, dress for the job. So depending on the organization and how they dress, then you dress according to the job. I believe that it's better to sometimes dress up rather than to dress down. Remember to listen and take care to answer the question asked. Don't talk too long, because sometimes you can trip yourself up if you take too long to answer a question. And also to use the appropriate language. These are some of the things that I used when I have gone for the interviews that I've gone for, and I hope that they are helpful for you. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.